Hey YouTube, I'm Lily, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about something I think is actually really important, and it's how transgender people are treated in the mainstream media. So this is something I think about and I actually write about a lot in my own journals and notes and stuff like that. It's actually a workshop I give in colleges as well to LGBT societies and allies and stuff, just to get a grip on how trans people are treated. And what I've found through all my experience working with the media or seeing media about trans people, what I find is that we're not treated very well. So, the way we're treated in the media can actually be summed up to three major things. They all begin with S, so you can kind of remember them that way. The first of which, and I think is the most obvious one, is we are sexualized. Trans people in the media a lot of the time are seen as sexual objects, like a lot, and it's really annoying. We are transcending gender and we're changing how people see our gender. A lot of people just go straight to the whole, you're changing your genitals, what genitals do you have, how do you have sex, are you a boy or a girl, gender. So yeah, it's crazy. We're very sexualized creatures. You go on to a talk show where they're talking to a trans person, one of the major questions is like, you know, are you straight or gay? Like, that has nothing to do with being trans. God damn. God damn it. One of the most, like, obvious things about this is when Caitlyn Jenner had her Vanity Fair magazine cover, right? And in that magazine cover, like, straight away, they just threw her in lingerie, right? And it's like, yep, Caitlyn Jenner is Caitlyn Jenner now, right? Let's put her in some sexy women's underwear and just fucking throw her out there. I am Caitlyn. More like, I am sexual product by Victoria's Secret. So that's one of the ways we're seen in the media, and it's quite negative. The second one is that we are stigmatized. I think stigmatized is actually the most important one, because stigmatizing a person or a group of people is quite awful. So for this one, I actually want to take you guys way back, okay? So way back in time, right? People who were right-handed were known as dexterous. Yeah? People who were left-handed, however, were called sinister. Now, if you think of sinister how we think of it now, it's like, sinister is a bad thing, a sinister person is evil, etc, etc, etc. But actually, sinister just meant left-handed, but back then, people who were left-handed were thought of as, you know, demon-possessed individuals who had to, like, they had to be beaten into using their right hands for things. This is years ago, but for reals, that's where sinister came from, right? Sinister used to mean something completely different, right? But when you stigmatize the word sinister as if it's meaning a bad thing, you know, sinister only meant left-handed, but then they stigmatized being left-handed so much that sinister actually changed its meaning. So when you're stigmatizing something, you're inherently changing how people are seeing it from what it actually is to being something really bad. So when trans people are stigmatized, it's the whole thing of don't go near a trans person, don't send your kids to school with trans people. If your kid comes out as trans, you make sure they're not trans, send them to one of those Bible conversion camps, whatever, etc. You know, don't believe what trans people say because they're lying, they're just trying to get into your pants. Trans people are traps, they're just trying to lure you into sleeping with them, but actually she has a penis, so she's a man. So stigmatizing trans people like that and making us out to be some kind of villains in the public eye is a really big problem, especially when it comes to interacting with kids, because trans people have kids, trans people deal with kids, there are trans teachers, bus drivers, there are trans people who deal with kids every day. So if you stigmatize trans people into not being good to be around your kids because they're sexualized a lot, so it's a sexualized creature, so let's stigmatize that so they can't be around kids. And it means that trans people have a really hard time when it comes to just having the confidence to even talk to a person who is under the age of 18, because the last thing they want is for someone to go, get away from my child. Can you imagine that fear every day? That'd be awful. So being stigmatized in the media is awful. The last one, I think is probably the most common one, really, is to be sensationalized. So a couple of years ago, this actually happened to a friend of mine. To be sensationalized is to have your story taken, no matter what the story is or how small it is. You have these rags and tabloids and magazines taking your story and blowing it out of proportion and using all these sensationalist buzzwords like was a boy, is now a girl, gender swapped, transgendered, etc. All these big flashy words to make your story out to be something sensational and that actually never happens and it's a sensation and you need to see it. So sensationalizing trans people, it makes us seem that we're not real, that we're not common, and that we're just something to be consumed, like a scandal story. If you ever seen one of those magazines where it's like, my husband's killer was my cousin's brother's son who I'm actually married to. Those kind of headlines, you know what I mean? They catch you because they want to sell their rag to you, and their rag is full of crap and advertisements that pay them to get them sold. They use trans people, they sensationalize them, and they make people think that we're some kind of fantasy creature. I swear to God, people think we're unicorns. When people find out I'm trans, they go, what? I've never met a trans person before. And I go, no, you have. It's just because we're so sensationalized in the media that you don't even know what a real trans person looks like. That documentary series years ago, Lady Boys, right? That really sensationalized, sexualized, and stigmatized the whole damn thing, right? And now everyone thinks that trans people are the ladyboys that were depicted and sensationalized and sexualized in that show. So when they meet a real trans person, they're like, you're not what ladyboys looks like. In lies the problem. This is why sensationalizing, sexualizing, and stigmatizing trans people damages us and the way people see us. This is something I've been looking to change for quite a long time, to be honest. I've been working on it quite a lot. I want to educate people around it. This is why I'm making this video today. But the reason I'm making this video now and I didn't make it before is because actually for the past year I've been working to change this in real time, in the real world. I've been working on this documentary with this production crew. We are going to be launching it on RTE sometime next month. It's a two-parter. Each part is an hour long. It's going to be on one week and then on the next week it's going to be following the lives of a few trans people here in Ireland, because I really think Ireland is moving ahead really quickly and I think we need to help people along by educating them about how it is to be a young trans person in Ireland, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't know what that's like because of how the media has shown us before. So what we're trying to do with this documentary is to show what being a real life trans person is like. So without getting into the nitty-gritty of it, what we're trying to do is not sexualize people, not stigmatize trans people, and not sexualize. What we're trying to do is give real ground level stories to the people of Ireland so they can see that trans people are Irish people. That's what we're trying to do. Trans people are Irish people, trans people are people. People are people. Regardless of what they want to do or not want to do, or what they need or not need to do with their bodies, their minds, their spirituality, whatever. People are people. So the next time you see something that's trans oriented in the media, you need to ask yourself, is this treating trans people properly? And is this a good source to get my information? Regardless, guys, I've had a really cool time making this documentary, and a lot of the stuff that's going to be coming out in the documentary I'm going to be talking about a lot more on my channel. I feel really good about moving forward with the channel in the future. Thank you so much for sticking around. My name is Lily. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.